No sound. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me now. Uh, my Yeti is, I think, is on its last leg. It's been a couple of years old already. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay or not. Hopefully it's Charlie saying no sound. Hopefully you get some sound now. It should be working. Yeah. If it's still not working, please let me know. Yep, it looks like there's sound coming through. Okay, that should be good. Let me know. Let me know. All right, we got sound. Okay, cool. Probably should tweet out the link. By the way, if anybody wants to come on, let me know. I'm using StreamYard too now, so I can invite you on the show if anybody wants to pop in and discuss the topic at hand. Thank you guys. Thanks for giving me a heads up. Appreciate it. Okay. So we'll get the show started in a moment. I'm going to see if anybody else files in. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. So the title of the stream is interesting. It is inspired by a quote from one of the episodes. The episode, I believe it's the season 2 premiere episode. I believe. Yeah, I think I'm right. When we come back after Cooper gets shot. It's my phone. All right. So Cameron says, "Invite me on." All right. We're gonna have Cameron here in a second. I will give him a link to join me. It's always cool when other people could join in. Let's see. Where is he? There we go. Hi everybody. Pile in, invite some people. I don't know who's going to be around today, Friday afternoon. I always have a hard time figuring out what time slot to go in. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little too early. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little too late. So it's hard to say what a good time to have shows is. If you guys have a preference, let me know in the comments. If there's a time that works best for you for live streams. Because I like to sort of cater to the crowd more. I don't want to just, talk to nobody. I want to know when everybody's on. Hello, Shirley. Hello, Jason. Thanks for joining. Hopefully some other people will pop in a little bit later. And then we can get a cool show going. All right, let me bring up that quote again. I wonder if I could share the quote on the stream. I wonder if there's a way to do that. Here's our special guest. Here we go.
Hello.
Cameron's here.
Yes, how's it going?
Hi. Thanks for coming on the impromptu show.
We'll get to the no worries. I actually thought it was an edited video you put together because it was being premiered. So I thought, oh, wow, you cut together like a little video editorial or something.
It might work. It probably would have worked better as that, to be honest, going by the subject. But I don't know. I was watching a couple. I was watching I think it was a season 2, episode 1, when he has this whole quote about keeping the fear from your mind. And I thought it was pretty relevant to what's going on.
Oh, yeah. That whole speech, you can definitely tell Mark Frost wrote that whole section.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I was like, oh, this is pretty apropos. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to share the speech rather than me reciting it, because I might not do it justice.
Well, every single thing, what people don't really talk about is every single thing Cooper says in that scene comes true by the end of season 2.
By the end of, all right, let's see. I think I found a way to do it. Yeah, there we go. All things considered, being shot is not as bad as I always thought it might be, as long as you could keep the fear from your mind. I guess you could say that about most anything in life. It's not as bad as long as you can keep the fear from your mind.
Yeah. Did you hear what I said, though? That everything he says in that scene comes true by the end of season 2.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
he talks about making love to a beautiful woman. Of course, Annie shows up. Like everything he wants to happen comes true in some form by the end of season 2.
Yeah, he does. He has like a bit of a wish fulfillment thing, but then he kind of goes back on the kind of dealing with fear thing. If you want to go by the kind of dealing with his shadow self with like sort of perfect courage. I forgot the line.
Right. I mean, I see, you could have the argument that the way the show builds up Agent Cooper, especially with the way he handles his dreams and premonitions and things like that, he probably should have been better prepared, for going into the Black Lodge than he was. But what had him was that just like the whole Jedi thing, it became personal. Like if he was going in there for Lucy, I don't think Cooper stuck in there for 25 years. But because he was dealing with Wyndham Earl, right, which has this huge personal connection to him, he's dealing with Annie, which is a recent, but still Annie for all purposes in season 2 is Caroline redemption, right?
Yeah.
It's the new version of Caroline that he has a second chance to redeem himself for the perceived failures of what he thinks happened with him and Caroline. So he's going in there with a lot of stuff on his mind.
A lot of garbage like building up before he gets to that point.
Yeah, and I think that he walks in there and he sees the little man, and I think that he's just completely he's not prepared for that.
All right, so going by that, do you think he's prepared? Do you think he's just replaying like that same kind of thing in The Return then? Because it seems like he goes back to save Laura because he keeps kind of failing at saving people, saving the people he loves, and so he's like, maybe if I go back and save Laura, it'll erase everything. But you think it makes it worse? I know we've talked about this to death at this point, but it seems like he keeps going back to save people and it just ends up badly. I think Cameron might be frozen. All right. We'll give him a second to come back to life. Yeah.
Hello?
There we go.
I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to come up with an actual notion about this because I think that the writers, Frost and Lynch, changed their mind about Agent Cooper in the 25 years in between. Mm-hmm. So there's not really a through line because you have to take into account the missing time, the 25 years in between. Plays a factor.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really get to see if that character evolved really at all. So would you say that it is supposed to be that same, basically the same Cooper, but like basically frozen for 25 years? I mean, I can't imagine much went on in the Black Lodge in that time, especially being how time works weird in the Black Lodge. So like, how I want to know how long it was for him.
Well, he doesn't seem to notice that much time has passed until he kind of comes out and starts seeing that. But it really, I mean, does the world seem all that different to him? I mean, there were casinos back in 1990.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing they could have played on was the advancement of society, but society hasn't advanced all that much except iPhone wise and things like that, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty much the same world that we were back then. So I now listen, if Hawk had gone into the Black Lodge, I mean, personally, Cooper did a silly thing, right? He took it personally, and so he went in personally to go get Annie. It really should have been him, Harry, and Hawk going in like they did at One-Eyed Jack's, because Hawk probably could have helped navigate the terrain a little bit, especially if they parked someone at the front of the curtains. You know what I mean? To be like, this way's out.
That would have been really cool if they had treated it like they did with One-Eyed Jacks, like have a sort of a backup guy, like a lookout guy, and then have Cooper go in and get everybody.
And then you could have had Hawk throwing the giant blade into Little Mike on their way out. I mean, one of my favorite moments in season 2 is when he knifes that guy at the front of One-Eyed Jack's, and then they actually show him run up to retrieve his knife.
Oh yeah. Does he clean it off? I think
no, he doesn't even pull it out, but we know he's about to pull it out.
All right. Yeah, but I had an image in my head of him, like, for some reason taking it out and like wiping it on his jacket or something.
Well, we know that's what happened, but we just didn't see it. But yeah, I mean, you can look back and you say, wow, Cooper's so foolish to go in there alone. He took it, he took it personally. I'm going to go get Annie. This is my fight. I'm going to do, really kind of foolish.
Well, he fell for Wyndham Earl's trap, and then he was easy. He got played super easily at the end of the day once Wyndham Earl and Annie was involved.
Right. Again, and so all of a sudden Cooper loses. I mean, like he says to Harry, I have to go alone. And Harry, respects Cooper enough to be like, okay, when Harry should have pulled him aside like he did in the police station, says, Cooper, I've had enough of the mumbo jumbo. I see that this is real. You're not going in there alone. Right.
Well, it would have been cool for Harry to stop him, especially after the whole thing where Harry was like kind of being a drunken idiot and Cooper kind of pulled him out of that. So it would have been cool to see Harry like do the same for him and kind of snap him out of it and say, no, that's not the way to do this. We're going to do it this way. This makes more sense. And
so you have to you have to look at it. Okay. So you have one half of the Twin Peaks audience who thinks that David Lynch purposely directed this finale to be as crazy as possible, as inconclusive as possible, just to leave us going crazy. It's possible, knowing how David Lynch is now. However, I do think if you look at the second season finale versus the season 1 finale, the season 1 finale has a ton of things left inconclusive, right? Because they knew, hey, we were going to come back.
Yep.
So I wonder if Lynch and Frost, I know that he changed the script a lot, but I wonder if Lynch purposely left things so inconclusive so that the network would say, well, you have to come back because you can't leave it like this.
That's what the first time I watched it, that's what it felt like to me. And I was very I wasn't that knowledgeable on Lynch stuff, but I knew how TV works. So I'm like, oh, obviously they were trying to get renewed or whatever, cliffhanger. It's kind of a cliche tool.
But then look at season 3 and you could argue, okay, well, they could do whatever they wanted to do. And Lynch again decided to go out completely inconclusive. And that was by choice. But I would even argue that David Lynch in 1991 was a different person than he is in 2020 or 2017 when it came out. But I think the seeds were there. I think he looked at season 2 finale and went, that's kind of an interesting way to do things. I'm going to start doing that with all of my features from now on. Just leave things completely inconclusive and the dream lives on. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you look at Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart and all these other movies he's made, there is a definitive ending to those movies.
There is, and I like the whole let it live on, but then he doesn't really have to do that either because he has these worlds that are so weird already, and there has to be other stuff going on in these worlds. You could, if you ever did want to continue it, there's so many different paths you could go down anyway. You don't have to leave it open-ended, really.
Oh, that was my whole argument with the end of season 3. It's like, okay, when I sign on to watch Twin Peaks, I want to watch Twin Peaks. If you want to do a Lost Highway version at the last second of Twin Peaks, then create something like Lost Highway or a new film or something like that. If you want to make Blue Velvet 2 and have Kyle and Laura Dern together, then make Blue Velvet 2. I feel like if you're going to go that route like he did in episode 18, then he should have had seeds of it planted earlier, because that last hour literally comes out of nowhere and is a completely different thing than what we've been watching.
Lost Highway.
Right. And I would say that to the people who think that the last episode of season 3 is actually the opening episode of season 4, you're probably not wrong. Because it does feel like, I mean, you could watch the last episode of Twin Peaks season 3 not knowing anything else that came before, and you're not missing anything because it's its own thing.
It really is.
You know, I mean, there's nothing at the front of that episode to hint that that's where we were going to end up in the last hour. And so it feels in a way like David Lynch channel surfing. Like, you know, I'm so bored now. Let me just go over here and do this.
That's exactly what it feels like. No, that I wouldn't be surprised if that's what that's supposed to be. It's like, all right, now this is going to be a different show. That's it.
Right. Well, I mean, but season 3 feels that way throughout. You know, it's like, I'm bored. You know, Gersten and Steven, I'm bored. Let's just go over here. What happened to Becky? Doesn't matter. You know, it almost feels like Lynch took a story to a certain point and was like, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And so when people say season 3 is full of mysteries, I would maybe argue that it is not full of mysteries, because a mystery is actually something that is, you know, alluded to, and you think about, and actually has like an air of mystery to it. To just introduce characters and then just abandon them and move on, that's not a mystery. That's just like getting restless and bored.
Yeah, when that ended, I didn't feel like I had anything left to solve, really, or figure out.
3?
Yeah,
season 3. There's a lot of stuff to discuss, but I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, because we've been talking about Twin Peaks ad nauseum for a long time.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why it is. And again, this isn't a knock on season 3. It's just a fact, and I don't care what people say to me. It's a fact to me, at least. Why is it that season 3 opens up Pandora's box with so many questions, so many things to theorize about, so many things to discuss, and yet, in a weird way, because everything is a question, there's really no question. And I feel like seasons 1 and 2, there was more to discuss even decades after. Whereas I feel like season 3, in certain ways, opened the conversation and closed the conversation at the same time. Like, there's so many things to talk about, and yet because everything is theoretical, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Whereas season 2 was sort of framed as a mystery story, where there was a potential end. There was, they figured out things along the way where there wasn't really a through mystery with season 3. There's I can't think of something that was like the goal or the big mystery from the beginning of that to the end. It was kind of like a slice of life kind of thing for people that live in Twin Peaks or interact with people from Twin Peaks in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I still get kind of peeved when I read. Look, I love David Lynch, so don't get me wrong, but I get kind of peeved when I would see those articles coming up before season 3 of like, I hate season 2. You know, he's like, I hate season 2, but he has no problem, throwing out an LP of the music of season 2. So it's like, which is it? If you hate season 2, then don't promote season 2. I don't know. I think he's just mad because it became something else, than what he was. I mean, if it was up to him, he never would have solved Laura's murder, which is funny to me because he made an entire movie about the solving of Laura's murder.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like you said, he changes his mind a lot, which is okay. It's fine, but
yeah. But the thing is, though, is I want them to acknowledge that. Say, look, in retrospect, we shouldn't have solved Laura's murder. So therefore, Fire Walk with Me probably shouldn't have been made. Like, if he wanted to keep the mystery of it up, right? Then he never should have made Fire Walk with Me. If you go by that basis.
Yeah, okay.
If you know what I mean?
No, yeah, because I was gonna say I could see it from like more of a like a filmmaking political like industry angle where it's like I want to make a movie. I think they're only gonna pay me if I make a movie about like Laura Palmer's murder or something. I could see it from that angle too.
Right. But the thing is, when you watch and you've seen the missing pieces and all that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much cut out of that movie. And one of the things that I would argue about is maybe not everything would have been cut out if the scenes were more properly fitted into the overall story. Like, you can remove those Hawk and Truman scenes because they have they have nothing to do with what's going on.
Yep.
Right. So why get all the actors back up to Snoqualmie and all that to shoot those scenes when there's nothing? I mean, you know that they're editing fodder. You know, they're not gonna make it into the film. I guess he just thought that, maybe they would work. But the thing is, though, on a script level, and again, this comes from the rushed having to crank out that script really fast.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to fit the scenes in where, okay, like for instance, like, you don't have a scene with, okay, again, I'm not arguing because the scenes are fun, but you don't have a scene with Josie and Pete doing the 2x4 scene because that can easily be lifted out. But if you have Laura going to tutor Josie, well, that's harder to take out, right? I mean, you still could take it out, but it would be harder to take out. Like, sure. Everyone. Okay, this is probably way off topic, so forgive me, Joey. But like, for instance, in Fire Walk with Me, I've heard this from the beginning that like Ray Wise is so great in Fire Walk with Me, so great in Fire Walk with Me. Yes, he is great. But my argument to Fire Walk with Me has always been like, okay, great. But if you go by the logic of Fire Walk with Me, Leland Palmer is prime suspect number 1 the moment Laura Palmer is killed, right? Every single person in that town would be convinced that Leland Palmer is the killer. Now, some people still say, well, that's Laura's perception of it. Okay, fine. But what you do, and this honestly should have been done in Fire Walk with Me, is you should have had Laura having to like take a lunch. Leland forgot his lunch at home, and so she has to take her on the way to school. She's going to drop off the lunch at the Great Northern Hotel, right? And we see that Leland is the most liked person in the hotel. Everyone loves him. Everyone's there for him. So therefore, you showed the dynamic of the world likes Leland, but Laura is questionable about her own dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing we see of Leland in Fire Walk with Me is, except for one moment where he cries, an over-the-top maniac, from start to finish. There is nothing. Now, I know that whole like deleted scene with the Norwegian was there, but but it's not in there in the final film. It's there in the missing pieces.
Yeah, I was gonna say we never see Laura with Leland in front of other people, really, ever.
No, it's all in the house, which is fine. But
that's interesting, though.
But Lynch is always about balance. If you look at all of his films prior to Fire Walk with Me, it's all about balance. You cannot have Frank Booth and his hooligans without Jeffrey and Sandy talking about Robbins and stuff like that. Fire Walk with Me is completely tipped to the dark side. Now, the reason
until the exact ending, I guess.
Yeah, but the reason why I think it was tipped to the dark side is because Frost and Lynch were doing On the Air at the same time he was making it, and so that is completely ridiculous and pardon the word stupid, right? And I mean, I like it; it's funny, but it is stupidly funny.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. So I think in a way that Lynch got split up. So instead of balancing Fire Walk with Me is balanced by On the Air. that like literally they are to be seen as one. It's not thematic wise, but because I think Lynch was literally pulled apart and he put his weird twisted humor side in On the Air, and his dark side went to Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
Whereas if he wasn't working on the air, I think Fire Walk with Me would have been much more balanced. And honestly, if he had another year to work on Fire Walk with Me, I think the film would have been even better. It does, as much as I like that movie, it is rushed.
I would almost argue that the silliness is bookended in Fire Walk with Me. You have Chet Desmond and Stanley in the beginning, who are kind of a goofy, like we have this goofy detective couple or partners, right. And then you end with the Angel and Cooper and all that stuff. So he like bookended it with these kooky characters, and then you have the Fat Trailer Park and Good Morning America and all that stuff, and it's like kind of silly, and then the second you go to Twin Peaks, it's like just grim.
But is it even silly? I mean, like even the first half hour, as much as I like it, it does feel like an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, it's like it does feel like very long for 30 minutes.
It feels long, but the tone is almost completely different, I'd say, from the rest of the movie.
Oh yeah, no, but it's still like slow, like the rest of the movie. When I mean slow, I mean like you can tell that, like, I mean, there's so many, like when they're in the sheriff's department, there's no added sound to that. You can tell that they're using just the onset sound.
The room sound, because
you can hear Chet Desmond's feet, and it's not like David Lynch re-recording sound. That is just literally onset sound.
That scene in particular, I mean, I like that scene, but that's one of the scenes where anytime it gets to it, I kind of like look at my phone or something. The sheriff department scenes,
especially when they then they cut to that close up of Chet Desmond, and he's got that weird light on his eyes. He almost looks like an alien before he grabs the deputy's nose. So yeah, I mean, it's a very strange. I mean, Fire Walk with Me is the beginning of Lynch deciding to do split narratives. I mean, that he would do that for almost the rest of his movies, except for The Straight Story, but Fire Walk with Me, at least the two stories connect somewhat.
Yeah.
But whereas the other movies, they don't connect. Yeah. I mean, yes, Fred, Madison, and Pete and all that about Lost Highway, but it's really two disconnected stories.
It's almost three stories, because you have Stanley and Chet Desmond, and then you go to Cooper and Gordon for a little bit, and then you go to Laura.
Right. And that whole like FBI scene in Fire Walk with Me, I remember watching the film, and I know this is like horrible, because I mean, because we like everybody involved with it, but and of course it plays into season 3, but you have to keep in mind 1992, we didn't know there was gonna be a season 3. I remember thinking to myself, why the hell is this scene even in the film? Because it has nothing to do with anything that came before, nothing that came after. And Kyle is playing Agent Cooper almost like a Saturday Night Live version of himself. Because he like comes in, he's like, Gordon, I had a dream. And it's almost like that's what a Saturday Night Live writer would write, because it's so on the nose and so like, let's just play up the stereotypical Agent Cooper nonsense. And you even see it in the Saturday Night Live skit where he's like, Harry, I had a dream. We went and stormed One-Eyed Jack's Eskimo seal hunters and all that. It's like, but that scene is so bizarre and comes out of nowhere. And it was truncated so much from what we see in the missing pieces that if it wasn't for Kyle Maclachlan and David Bowie, I think that scene probably would have hit the floor.
If it was, I think if it wasn't for Bowie by himself, honestly, if it was just Kyle and David, I think it would have been gone. But that whole Bowie scene, he kind of steals the scene, I would say.
There's that, but 1992, you have Kyle Maclachlan, who was really at the top of his game at that moment. He's coming off The Doors and things like that as well. Kiefer Sutherland, huge star, then as well before 24.
Yeah.
So why do you cut the only scene of them two together? You know what I mean? Like,
working against yourself a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, with that scene with him and Sam Stanley, I would almost argue it's a necessary scene. Does it? I mean, it because it helps connect the two stories together a little bit more.
If there ever comes a time where he does do that ultimate cut with the missing pieces back in, I could see that scene.
Oh yeah, and I love that that fan edit. You know, I bought the Blu-ray of it. They have it for sale on eBay. I'm sure legally, but it's great because I mean it's full Blu-ray, perfect 5.1 sound. They really did a great job on it. You know?
Yeah, I still haven't heard that one. I still haven't watched that version.
It's great, and it's like after you watch it, you go, yeah, I don't think I could ever watch the theatrical cut again.
I believe it. I believe it.
You know,
I like a lot of those
because it's as close to what you wanted from a Twin Peaks movie. Even though I will still argue left, right, and center about things that the movie needed. And I know a lot of people think Fire Walk with Me is Lynch's best film. They're wrong. But you know, I cannot, because you cannot say that some of those missing pieces should have been in the film and then tell me the final theatrical film is Lynch's best film. That doesn't make any sense.
What do you think is his best? What's like your favorite, or what do you think is his best, like just technical wise?
Well, see, that's getting into some. I think it's a few different questions, because you have some people who will maintain that Eraserhead is his best film because it's totally from the heart. He had no idea he was going to have a career. He put everything himself in that film, and it's absolutely gorgeous for somebody who, like, I mean, for someone who didn't really know what he was doing, he surrounded himself with the right people and got everything he wanted to achieve done. I mean, I love Eraserhead. I mean, if you look at The Grandmother, which I love, Eraserhead is lights ahead of what The Grandmother was. You know what I mean? Like, so I could see people saying that. I would say, I mean, Blue Velvet, I think, is his like really strong film because it shows basically an artist putting his foot down, saying, this is how I see cinema, and it pretty much defines the rest of his career. That's
my answer too.
Without Blue Velvet, there's no Twin Peaks. Fact, right? Because I agree. Blue Velvet is the true prequel to Twin Peaks. I know it's Jeffrey and Sandy, but it is the prequel.
Blue Velvet is what got me into everything else. Like, I watched Blue Velvet first, and I was like, oh, I got to start. I'll watch Eraserhead now. I'll watch Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I mean, Mulholland Drive is a great film, but I would love to have seen it as a TV series. I think it would have been even stronger as a TV series. As much as I love the film, as much as I love it, I would love to have seen a 9-hour arc of Mulholland Drive.
I could still see that being a series.
I hope so. I mean, like, honestly, I love Twin Peaks, but if he came out and said, we're going to do Mulholland Drive, the series, sign me up. Sign me up. You know, goodbye, Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks, but sign me up.
Honestly, I would have said the last hour of Twin Peaks felt a lot like Mulholland Drive too.
It felt more like Inland Empire than it did Mulholland Drive, at least.
I would say it's Lost Highway through and through.
Yeah, it's most. But okay, so Blue Velvet, I would say, is probably his strongest film because it dictated the rest of his career.
Agreed.
However, and I understand he didn't write the script, but it's playing now on Disney Plus.
Yes, it is.
The Straight Story. If someone came to me and said, I feel like David Lynch's strongest film is The Straight Story, or perhaps his best film is The Straight Story, I really would be pressed to find a good argument against you, because that movie feels so much like when George Lucas has talked about his career, and they say American Graffiti is for a career that you never had, you know, because he went and did Star Wars. Well, The Straight Story is the film that David Lynch, you know, made that shows that he could have had a career making different types of films.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that film feels so, I know it's not an autobiographical story, but he made it autobiographical. Like, it's so from the heart. And yet you can tell that, like, when he talks about, like, well, I didn't start thinking until I was 20 and all this stuff. He talks about growing up in the Midwest and all that. You really feel like he's channeling his childhood.
Well, yeah, he related to those characters in a way that, you know, he probably never did with any other scripts that were thrown at him or whatever.
Right. And I mean, he didn't live in Victorian London, right? But he still made a great film out of The Elephant Man, but he didn't live then. But he remembers the Midwest, right? And so when he shows all the people and how nice everybody is, and you know, everyone's taking care of this elderly man, like when Alvin stands up to that neighbor, lets him park in his yard for a while, and he says, "I want to thank you for kindness to a stranger." And the other guy says, "You know, it's been a pleasure meeting you, Alvin. You know, visit us anytime. Come see us anytime." That is straight up Cooper talking to Bushnell Mullins at the end. He's like, "I want to thank you for your kindness to."
It's yeah.
I mean, he drew from all his works to put it in season 3. But The Straight Story is a great film, and if you've never seen it, now
I hadn't seen it until you told me about it. So
what did you think when you saw it?
No, I loved it. I loved it.
No, I know. But I mean, did you? What's so amazing? It's so not your typical David Lynch movie, and yet he made that film. You can tell it's him.
Well, for me, I think you get to Straight Story by way of Elephant Man, because there's a lot of you see what he could do with just, you know, a good script and a good, you know, emotional story and like good emotional characters. And then I saw Elephant Man first, and then I saw Straight Story. So I saw that path a little bit, and he can make those kind of movies. You saw Elephant Man like messed me up. That movie got to me, and then you see the Straight Story, and it's like what is he doing? Why is, you know, he could do both, and I wish I saw more of that Lynch too. But you know, he kind of likes doing his dreamy thing.
Yeah, but he's able to put that in The Elephant Man and Straight Story as well. He can put that element in those films too.
It's true.
I mean, the thing is with The Straight Story and The Elephant Man is he does not play. He is not. It's hard to say. Those movies are truly sentimental without shoving your face and trying to make you cry.
Yep.
Like, he's not trying to make you cry, but the stories themselves are told so beautifully and so simply, and the music is so gorgeous. Badalamenti, of course, did the score for Straight Story. You cannot. It's hard to not come away from those two films and not be profoundly moved. The Straight Story is literally what it is. It's a straight story. It is one side of the country to one state to another state. No real big plot there.
No.
And yet you do feel like you kind of learn something about life, you know? And so in many ways, I think Blue Velvet is his strongest film in terms of like where his career went. But in the middle of Fire Walk with Me, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire, he drops The Straight Story. I mean, that shows me that he can do it if he wants to do it.
Absolutely. I have no doubt about it.
He just doesn't want to do it. But he put it in. I mean, there's elements in season 3 where you go, see, that's the thing. It's like, look, when I look at Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, I go, okay, well, after Schindler's List, Amistad, Private Ryan, Spielberg just can't get back to that Peter Pan land anymore. You know what I mean? Like, he can try, but he can't because he's moved on. He's grown up.
And he's old. Yeah, he's old.
Right. Whereas Lynch has shown us that he can do whatever he wants to do. He just chooses not to. Which is really sad to me, because I go, come on, David, you can do this. So why not throw us a bone every once in a while? Why do you got to keep going, making a quick left when you can every once in a while be nice to your fan base and give us a little something.
Because I think he likes to be that. I don't mean this in a negative way. I think he likes to be that bratty art school kid. Still, the one that's like painting in his like apartment in Philly and like just creating all this crazy. I think he misses that. He feels nostalgic for that, and it never goes away. And he just wants to do that. And when he does other things, he's probably not feeling like he's being like, I don't know, real with himself. Like he could do it and he can do it well, but I think at the end of the day, he wants to be that art school brat that, you know, makes like dark, moody paintings and goes
because the thing
subverts himself.
Because all through season 3, I kept thinking, well, this is really interesting. He's not giving us the goods, but he's still delivering the goods. You know what I mean? Like he's not giving us what we want, but he's still kind of giving us what we want, but just in a different way. But I would argue the last 2 hours of season 3 was sort of that art school bratty kid giving us the middle finger. Like, I'm going to just do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And my question is to him is, why did you want to do that?
Because he can, I guess.
I know, but I mean, but why? Why would you want to deliberately? Because the thing is, though, is like, if I was him, I would be really, you know, it's kind of like that scene in the Doors where Jim Morrison says, I could pull out my, you know what, and pee on you and you'd love it. And almost David knows that he could give us what we want. He could give us what we don't want, and people are still going to kiss his ass. And I think there's a part of him just like, well, you know, let's see. Let's see how people react to it. And of course, everyone's just like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But imagine if he had done something completely different. They would have still said it's brilliant. It's brilliant. He could have done anything in those last 2 hours and people would have said, he could have had Agent Cooper sit in the Black Lodge in that chair for 120 minutes straight, one take, and have us just sit there for 2 hours and watch.
I wish I could get to that point. In my art where I could just shoot a camera at something and people be like, oh, that's great.
Can you imagine if the last 2 hours was just Kyle in one take, just sitting in a chair and we didn't move? I'm shocked he didn't do that. Just to do something so ridiculous.
What do you mean he didn't do that? That was almost the whole season of Kyle, like, you know, meandering around, not speaking, like being a doof.
And then, of course, you know, that translates into the infamous car ride back to Twin Peaks. The long, slow, no one says anything car ride.
I do like that car ride though, because that's a lot like car rides I've been on, where you just kind of like.
I don't want to drive across country with you then.
Well, no, you go on a long trip. Like when I went to Chicago, sometimes you're just tired of talking, so you just sit there in silence. And I kind of got that.
But why would they be tired of talking? I'd be picking her brain.
Well, I think it's more the tension. They're like, they both don't know what they're actually doing. They're both kind of.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that works the first time you watch it. But after that, if you don't deliver the goods, that car ride is for nothing. So it's almost like there really needed to be a huge payoff for that. Now, I like the ending, but I can also name you 10 other ways that show could have ended, and I would have still been, wow. So it's not like, I don't think the ending of season 3 is the perfect ending, but I think it's a solid one.
Sure.
But like I said, I could think of 10 more solid ones that would have left me just as cool. Maybe not as left as like, okay, when's season 4 getting come out? Because I mean, let's be honest here. When that ending hits, you're almost like, well, they had the permission to do whatever they wanted to. So obviously there's going to be something else, because you don't end it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess he's going to end it like that. So
from the sound of it, yep, that seems like what it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, because let's be honest here, at this point, especially with this virus hitting, there ain't no season 4 right now. I mean, eventually there will be, but it probably will not be Lynch done.
He's doing something. I don't know what the hell it is, but he's doing something for Netflix.
Yeah, but nobody's doing anything right now.
Well, right now, no way.
And you better hope that they've walled off that house, because he is not the right age to be dealing with people.
Well, according to him, he doesn't even leave the house when he doesn't have to anyway. So hopefully,
well, I certainly hope so, because I do not want to wake up to that news that he has it.
I don't either. Oh God.
Because I keep waking up every day and seeing more and more people.
A lot of older musicians, yeah.
CNN's anchors are all getting it.
Cuomo, yeah.
No, another one got it today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Brooke, somebody. And so I'm worried. I'm worried about all these guys because, and Lynch, he's a heavy smoker. I don't know. And the last time I saw him at the Oscars, I mean, he looks very skinny. He looked like he lost some weight, not in the best way, but almost like, when a doctor tells you better lose some weight, that type of thing. I'm worried. I'm worried about him.
I don't think he's a drinker, but he has that he has that skinny fat thing going on where he's like skinny, but he has like a big kind of gut thing going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think smoking is his thing,
Yeah,
because he's old school. He's the art school student. You can almost imagine. I mean, you've seen that documentary Crumb. That
no.
Oh yeah, it's on the. Do you have the Criterion channel?
No, not yet. I'm thinking about doing the trial.
It's good. It's good. But Crumb is on there, and Crumb you need to see. For anyone who's never seen it, you got to see it. Crumb is a documentary about Robert Crumb, who of course did a lot of like comics in the 60s and stuff. But David Lynch, after he saw a rough cut of the film, said, "I love this movie. Can I put my name on it?" So it literally says David Lynch presents Crumb, and that helped it get into more film festivals.
Oh wow.
That's one of the most perfect documentaries ever made. And if it's not on YouTube, definitely do the free trial so you can watch Crumb, because Joey, you would love it.
I've never heard of it.
It is truly one of the greatest documentary and very inspirational. Like you want to be inspired in terms of art and creativity, watch Crumb.
All right, yeah, I'll watch it.
And anyway, so it's really strange because I love David Lynch with all my heart and soul, and yet there's a part of me that just wants to be like, David, you're so funny. Why would you do this? Why would you do this to people? I don't get it. Like I everything he does is a choice. It's a choice,
But then again, I don't envy his position of trying to end a reboot of a show that has been dead for 25 years. I don't know how I would do that. I'd be like, I'd come up with an ending that I thought was decent and be like, okay, I guess this is the way to go.
Well, he rewrote that ending on the fly. Yeah. On the fly.
I remember you telling me.
So it's like, okay, well, I mean, I think Lynch is somebody who is like when he was doing Inland Empire, he would write a scene and then he would shoot the scene. He didn't even think about like the context of the scene or what the ramifications of the scene would be later in the film. He would just start shooting stuff. And I think that season 3 almost has that vibe of like, let me just shoot this to shoot this. And if I can fit it in, I'll fit it in. And never mind if it doesn't connect to anything else.
Yeah, that's that transcendental meditation thing. That's like everything has a thread and it'll find itself like at some point in the story. And I think he really that's the way he makes stuff. It's like, I'm gonna make it. It'll figure itself out later on.
I know, but when you look at Blue Velvet and even his adaptation of Wild at Heart or Hotel Room or even the first season of Twin Peaks, he was doing transcendental. It's not some new thing. I mean, he's been doing this since the Eraserhead days. But back then, he believed in story, in character, and yes, surrealism, but also balancing it with a certain amount of realism so that it worked together. It wasn't just a free for all, I'm not saying that's what season 3 is. I'm saying that's what Inland Empire is. Inland Empire is just a free fall of let me just go crazy with a video camera and see what happens.
Of all of them, yes, it's definitely Inland Empire. That one still doesn't have a through line that I really understand. I've also only seen it once or twice, so I have to rewatch it.
That's more times than anyone needs to see it. Because it really, like, I love the people who say Inland Empire is just like this great work of art. I love it because I want to know what on earth they're smoking. Because I think there's a great film in it. It just needs to be chiseled out of the 4.5 hour running time.
The 4.5 hour camera test, yeah.
I think there's a great 90-minute film in there somewhere.
He needs to get some kind of hotshot editor and give him the footage, and he could probably do something with it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Dwayne Dunham hadn't worked with him since Twin Peaks, and then Mary Sweeney was with him for a long time, and then not. So then Lynch started editing himself, and my cat just grabbed my foot. So I mean, he's a good editor. I mean, he's a really good editor himself. He likes things to go a bit on the long side, but he's still a really good editor. I mean, look, anybody, and I know he had help, but anybody who can edit all those woodsmen just walking around outside the convenience store like that, that's fantastic. And that is not some easy feat. That was probably 50, 60 hours right there.
I mean, because since I've seen that clip, I tried to like emulate it sometimes, and it really is. You're cutting this thread of like not film, but obviously video. You're cutting it. You're putting this piece at the end, then you're cutting this piece. You're putting this in the beginning, and you're kind of just mixing and matching things. And
so what it is, a lot of time. I think what it is, honestly, it's an hour footage that they just said, come out, walk around, blast some smoke. Cool. Because you can see the smoke come out and then it kind of comes back and it's the same shot. It's just reversed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think they just walked around for about an hour and then that was it. But then, then it takes 60 hours to edit something like that.
No, it takes a long time to chop those little pieces up and rearrange them. And so it comes out like that.
And I wouldn't be surprised if a separate assistant editing team wasn't just working on that sequence for a while.
It's not even a hard thing to do. It would take so much time for him to just sit there and just edit, cut and reverse or cut and place over here and
And you have to ask. I mean, you'd have to ask, say, because it's something that you could go forever doing. You'd have to say, David, what is your time length? What are we? You have to have an end point to that sequence. So if he says 4 minutes, okay, great. So you build it to 4 minutes, then maybe you can cut some other stuff out. But I would say that once you start editing, you don't cut anything out because it'd be hard enough to go in there because you're cutting 2 frames basically, right? So basically, I think they said we need about 3 to 4 minutes long, and whatever you come up with, that's the sequence because you can't really go back in there and start taking. Let me just take that frame out. Take that frame out. It's like those cuts are so small that you can't even see them on an editing timeline. I don't care what timeline.
Oh, yeah, they'd be like these little slivers right next to each other. I don't envy whoever had to edit that, if that was him or that was like an assistant or something.
See, I could see him having a pack of smokes and like 5 cups of coffee and then sitting there all night doing that. I could see that because that is the work of either a couple dedicated assistants to want to impress him or an all-night vendor of Lynch just going cuckoo.
I can see him I don't know what he edited. They edited it in Avid or something. I don't know, but he was smoking just like with the wheel and.
Well, I'm telling you right now, that is okay. That scene, as someone who edits, that scene was either a couple interns going, David, we'll take that off your hands. We're gonna really impress you. How long you want? 4 minutes? Okay, we're gonna impress you. Or it was the other way. Lynch smoked a couple of packs of cigarettes, drank about 6 cups of coffee, and had just had an argument with his wife, and was sitting in there all night long. And I don't mean like had an argument with his wife and that's it. No, I mean, like, he had to smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, had an argument. He was going to be up all night pacing around anyway, and he put all his attention into that sequence. Because that scene is so lovingly edited together that it's either the work of a dedicated team or the work of a guy who just is so angry right now that he focuses everything into that scene. Because it's perfect. It's perfect. You know, and I'm not. That's the kind of thing. Like, if I was interviewing David Lynch, I'd be like, so
it's funny that we think it's a perfect scene, because if you showed anybody that wasn't a Lynch fan they'd be like, what is this? What is this choppy garbage?
Right, but if you work in film, you know how much time.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. It must have taken a couple hours at least.
I should probably do a video about that. Just be like, let's take a look at how lovingly created this was.
We're gonna recut. We're gonna reassemble the convenience store scene from all these cut clips.
See, that's something we don't see in the behind the scenes footage. We don't see him directing that scene because it was probably the simplest thing to direct. All right, come out, walk around. You know, there's no real sound, so it's probably Lynch just saying, "Walk around." You know,
yeah. They set up that one camera and then smoke. All right, smoke, light. All right, come out, go back in.
It probably took very little time to shoot, but a shit ton of time to edit. So,
oh yeah, it took probably 4 or 5 times the amount of time to edit that scene than it took to shoot.
Oh, I'm saying minimum 50 hours. Minimum.
Oh, I don't know. That's a lot. I don't know about 50 hours. I'd probably say half.
Yeah, but see, you're approaching it, or maybe I'll go 30 with you. Because you have to approach it as if it's animation. So you're doing probably 2 frame cuts.
No, yeah.
Which is a long time.
and I'm pretty sure he was reversing some of those frames too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you have him walking like back and forth.
Yeah. What happened to you? Joey has disappeared.
Kicked myself out of my own stream.
I was gonna say, where the hell did you go? But let's get back to the topic at hand about Cooper and the fear.
And it goes, what have I arrived to?
Yeah. I mean, I think Agent Cooper, to me, I've always said, I mean, I know there's just people all over now with Twin Peaks and stuff like that going, Agent Cooper is a hero, and or he's a flawed hero, which I'll never subscribe to. He does some foolish things, but he's not a flawed hero. But I always said that he was heroic because he always kept moving forward, and if he was unsure about something or fearful about something, he trusted his instincts to get him through it, and he, like I said, just kept moving forward. I mean, the guy gets shot 3 times and still shows up to work the next day. So
it's true,
you know. So yeah, obviously, I mean, he's admirable.
Yeah, obviously he's not afraid of like something happening to him physically. He's kind of just afraid of what he's kind of afraid of He's afraid of failure, I guess. That's probably Cooper's biggest flaw, I would say.
Yeah, because he has failed.
Yeah,
but who hasn't failed?
I know, but he seemed like, from what we know about him, he consistently fails almost on a very big level. Like, people die because he fails to act or he fails to do things.
But I think that's revisionist history too. I think that in season 2 you could make that argument, but at the end of season 2 you could say, well, no, he didn't fail. I mean, yeah, he got stuck in the Black Lodge, but he still got Annie out. So I'm
not saying he failed then. I'm saying, but he also didn't. He didn't approach the Black Lodge with perfect courage or whatever, and he got stuck there. If that's one of the reasons you want to believe he got stuck there.
But see, my argument to that is why didn't we have why didn't he at least take Hawk with him? Hawk seemed to understand this place a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I'm sure Hawk could have brought in some family members or something like that. And we could have had like, you know, they could have done, imagine them doing some like Native American chanting, like outside while Cooper like walks through, like, so they're blessing him as he walks through.
I would argue that was also a failure of Cooper not to cooperate with all these people he's made alliances and friends of like this whole time. He could have, like, he's been helping them the whole time. They could have helped him this once. I'm sure they would have been happy to. You know, they literally asked, so he should have.
Well, it's funny because like Andy goes to the White Lodge. Andy's also the one that ends up hitting the owl in Owl Cave when he swings this little chisel thing.
That's right.
So, I mean, you know, but then Andy's also the doofus that doesn't realize that that's the bad Cooper coming to the sheriff's station at the end. So, like, I just don't understand the character of Andy sometimes because they were building him up in season 3 into something else, and then they completely abandoned that at the end. So I don't know what to think about it because he's like so self-assured with Nido, and then nothing. So it's very weird.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. Andy's super perceptive, or they make him to be super perceptive sometimes, and then most of the time he's just sort of a, you know, an oaf.
I guess, yeah. It's but there's so many things in season 3 that are just very weird and bizarre. But I mean, you know, I think Cooper he does the best he can, and I mean, like when he goes to get Audrey, right? He doesn't just go in alone. He takes Troon with him. You know, and then Hawk. So I mean, they had worked as a team before.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of like, I think Cooper was like, well, I understand these sort of dreams and Wyndham Earl's like after me, so I don't want to involve you, Harry. But the thing is, though, Harry was involved.
Yep.
And I think Harry staying outside was supposed to be sort of like an anchor to be like, you know, help me out if I need to get out. But he also needed somebody right at the door as well.
I think that's another fear of his. He didn't want to like anything to happen to these guys because they were his friends, but he also should have let them help him at the end there.
See, because I always thought that at the end of season 2, I mean, it should have been like a full-on Albert, Denise, Gordon, Hawk, Truman. I mean, it should have been the whole team. I mean, why would Gordon leave town knowing that shit's about to get real? You know?
Yeah, what was he up to all that time that was so much more important?
Well, don't believe the season 3 revisionist history that Cooper, him, and Major Briggs were forming some secret alliance outside.
Task force.
That's completely ridiculous and stupid because Gordon was macking on Shelley that entire time, not planning with Major Briggs.
So, that's his alibi.
Yeah, that's his alibi. And if they were thinking there was somebody Jowday, Cooper never would have gone into the Black Lodge by himself like that. Then, you know, that's a whole other realm.
Oh, the Jowday stuff, yeah,
because he would not be going, fellas. Wyndham Earl's been after the Black Lodge the whole time. He would have been like, we talked about this yesterday, Gordon, didn't we? You know what I mean? Like they don't bring any of that stuff up. So
yeah,
it's all revisionist history.
Oh yeah, they definitely added a lot more to the mythology there because I think Mark Frost got into, with all his books and his 7 series, he got really into building mythology behind stories.
Right, but Major Briggs was supposedly hiding out in the Black Lodge for 25 years before he got killed. So why didn't they just suggest that Cooper and Briggs had some sort of like Morse code thing they were sending each other through the lodge because they were both trapped in there? Like that would have made more sense to like create a plan in the Black Lodge without the Black Lodge knowing about it than saying that before Wyndham Earl attacked the Miss Twin Peaks contest, that they had this plan underway the entire time. That is almost laughable.
Yeah, they used to send each other telegrams.
Huh?
They sent each other telegrams or whatever that he was holding up the coordinate thing. Owls are not what they seem.
Yeah.
That's how they communicate.
And when you look at that thing upon better reflection, you'll see that there are 4 Coopers, not 3. When he says Cooper, 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 yes, he says it 3 times, but his finger is also covering up a 4th Cooper. So it's not this idea that there's Cooper, Mr. C, Dougie, or whatever. It was just Cooper across that whole row.
Well, there was a 4th Cooper because then he made another Tulpa to send back with Janie E and
Yeah, but that's redemption Tulpa. That's not like
redemption Tulpa.
I mean, that's to be like, look, you didn't deserve to have that horrible person made up from Mr. C. So here's a good version that
still counts. That's a 4th one, no?
Yeah. But I really think the ending Cooper that we see, everyone's like, this is a new person. I think what it is, honestly, is it's Cooper fully 3-dimensional Cooper embracing the light side and his dark side. It's fully formed, because they don't say, who are you? And he's like, Richard, no, Cooper. No, he always identifies himself as Agent Cooper. So there's a very self-assuredness there.
Yeah.
So I think he's more just more together. The Agent Cooper in season 1, 2, didn't even acknowledge he had maybe a dark side, whereas this now he's like fully embraced the possibility of it, although he's completely stupid too by throwing guns into a fryer.
Well, yeah, you have Rich Cooper that this stream is sort of the namesake of. Keep the fear from your mind, where he wants to just block everything on. He wants to keep everything away and like all this bad stuff. Just keep it out of me. Whereas you have Richard now, who's like, oh, I'm scared. Like I'm terrified, but I'm also gonna do what I have to do, because you got to kind of have both in you. So,
but why does everyone keep calling him Richard? He never identifies himself as Richard, and he reads the letter and he's like, Richard, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like he's like, it's like maybe people want to assign him that name, but he doesn't identify himself as that name. So I'm kind of confused by that whole thing.
That whole Richard and Linda thing. If you want to go, the first theory I had was that this is obviously a different world where they both have different names, but I don't know. Maybe Richard and Linda are somebody in Lynch's life that now these new versions are more likened to, because Dale is Dale. He is happy-go-lucky, Dale.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that there is a Linda in the show who, is a wounded vet, from the military, from the Gulf War. And then Richard, of course, is Audrey's son.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, the great theory out there, which I loved, was that Mr. C had a child with Audrey, and that's Richard. But then Cooper had sex with Annie, and their daughter is Linda. And I thought that would have been brilliant. The two birds with one stone. And it would make sense for Cooper's kid to be a Gulf War vet and get wounded, that type of thing. And I thought, when Norma's talking about taking care of her family, that's kind of great. Of course, we don't go that way, because that would have been too easy. So right now, Richard and Linda mean absolutely nothing to the story. But if they had gone that route and made it where it's like Cooper, the two sides of Cooper each had a kid, and it was Richard and Linda, how brilliant that would have been. Because then when he says, and the giant says Richard and Linda, and Cooper says, I understand, that would have just been great, that he acknowledges the fact that two sides of him birthed these. I
mean, you could say Richard and Linda is just like another way to go yin and yang. Like that is like obviously light and dark. So that could be what it is. Like he's, Richard, and he holds Richard and Linda now. He holds light in the dark.
I mean, let's be honest here, though. Richard and Linda, for all practical purposes, is just the most awkward sex scene in the history of cinema. It's honestly, oh god, it's probably the second worst moment in all of Twin Peaks. The first, of course, being the missing pieces scene of Cooper talking to Diane.
Oh yeah,
which is so bad that even the fan edit leaves it out. That is the worst scene of all time in Twin Peaks.
So cheesy. I can't, like, too cheesy, like cringy.
It doesn't even belong in Firewalk with Me. Like it's so like, what are you thinking? and if you did shoot that, why are you showing it to us 25 years later as a wonderful missing pieces? This should be burned. This never should have seen the light of day.
No, I agree. I don't understand that scene. I don't understand why they took the time to film that scene.
Or took the time to remaster it as an HD moment. That thing deserved SD quality on the original gold box. And that's it. That is the worst moment. Probably the second worst moment is the Richard and Linda sex scene. The third worst moment is probably when James is kissing what's her name?
Wow.
I can't remember now.
Vivian?
No.
Wow, I'm blanking too.
I can't believe I'm blanking on this wonderful subplot.
James, wow.
Evelyn.
Yeah,
The third worst moment is probably when James is kissing Evelyn and the camera backs up, pulls away from them, and the camera operators didn't realize it was a bumpy road. And so you can see the camera literally bumping as it's pulling away from them. I don't know. That would be a great video to do the 10 worst moments of Twin Peaks. Because I'd have to think about that. And that, of course, would be like, there's no such thing as a bad thing about Twin Peaks. Oh yeah. Nadine throwing wrestlers around. Nope. Actually, I don't think that's bad at all. There's far worse moments. How about, number 4. If you can't get ZZ Top to be in your show, don't play their music. How about that? How about pick another band?
That's funny, but yeah, it was odd.
That's
We're just gonna play sharp dressed man in the middle of this show.
It didn't make any sense at all. And then the MC guy's just like doing this. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, I mean, that would be because I've done things like top 5 things I didn't like about season 3. I should just do the 10 worst moments of all Twin Peaks. I'd have to think about it though. Maybe. Okay, the most controversial one, and I don't even know if I would even include it, would be the close up of Cheryl Lee saying "gobble gobble gobble."
No,
because it is touching in a weird way. It is emotional in a weird way, but at the same time, though, I do think that moment also kind of helped kill Cheryl Lee's career, because you cannot stick a camera that close on an actress's face and literally have her say "gobble gobble gobble." That I think that did more damage to Cheryl Lee's career.
Oh my god!
Than showing up in other John Carpenter's Vampires. So,
all right, we'll leave it there. Gobble, gobble, gobble. We'll leave it there for today. Thank you guys for watching.
You're wrapping this up?
Yeah, it's over an hour already. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, all good. Well, I mean, I wasn't even planning on doing any more Twin Peaks videos, and then I just thought of that quote, so I thought I'd discuss that. But we went in a whole bunch of different directions, which is okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's usually what happens. No, this is kind of par for the course for Twin Peaks videos. All right, thank you guys for watching. Those of you tuned in live, leave a comment if you're watching this after the fact. Cameron, you want to do a plug?
Oh, do I want to do a plug? Yeah, I have a new YouTube channel. Yay!
Oh,
did you not know about this?
No.
And I have a new Twitter account as well. So I'm doing a companion channel or sister channel to Obnoxious and Anonymous. I'll still upload stuff to that channel, of course, but I have a new one called All This Filming, Is It Healthy?
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. And there's a new Twitter account and there's a new YouTube channel. So go subscribe there because I need 1,000 subs so I can start monetizing things.
All right, there you go.
You need 1,000 subs and now and also 4,000 hours watched before they'll let you monetize anything.
YouTube is giving me. I'm getting real upset. My limit, my lid is at the top of the YouTube.
Do you know how much you got to produce to make 4,000 hours of?
Insane. All right, guys. You can follow Cameron. All This Filming, Is It Healthy? Go subscribe to the channel, the new channel. Follow me at Joey Pedras over here. No, over here. There we go. On pretty much all social media. Thank you guys for tuning in and have a good weekend. See you later.